Welcome everybody, welcome back to the series Understanding the New Charter of Aged Care Rights. And this particular webinar is looking at what it means for the aged care workforce and how to prepare for the 1st of July. I acknowledge your time, it's absolutely precious, particularly within the frontline workforce, we totally understand. And your participation and voice is very much needed, and I thank you again. My name is Marie Montgomery and I shall be your facilitator today and for the up and coming webinars and the previous ones which we have done industry briefing, but also the community events that are coming to a capital city somewhere near you. I would like to take this opportunity as well to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, on which we are meeting here today. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to elders of other communities who may be here or joining us today. By attending this webinar, you will learn the key changes to the Charter and of course the benefits of this change, what it means to you, the aged care workforce, and the partnership that you will have with your consumers, timelines for implementing the new Charter, and that comes soon, how to have those conversations with aged care consumers about rights and the Charter. And recently I had those chats and I can tell you it can be a lot of fun. Signing requirements, there's a lot of concern about that, so we will go over the details of signing. Consumer responsibilities and overall what you need to get ready. So I'd like to now come across to my fantastic panel. Thank you guys for being here today. It really does make the day quite dynamic. So I have Pat Joyce. Thank you, Pat. You're the Advocate Manager for Seniors' Rights Services.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. And I have Craig Gear, the CEO for OPAN.
Morning and afternoon.
Yes, exactly. Good pickup. So I guess to the both of you, a little bit of background, a bit of bio on you both, but also, most importantly, what is it that you're so passionate about in aged care that brings us here where we are today? Why don't you go, Pat?
First.
Thank you. So I've been working for Seniors' Rights Service for 12 years now, and we have a good team of 8 advocates now who travel around the state, and we enjoy assisting older people who can't find their voice to speak up with any little concerns, and then their life is improved just by a couple of conversations, and it's very rewarding for us.
There is a lot of reward, isn't there? Yeah. Great.
So I'm the CEO of the Older Persons Advocacy Network, and OPAN is the peak organisation for those 9 members of ours that deliver this really important work of walking alongside older people, helping them to raise their voice, as Pat was saying, to advocate for themselves. But then when they do need someone, we've got 60 advocates across the country, like the ones working in Pat's team, who can help people raise those issues with their provider. I mean, it's very much so we're on the side of the older person. It's a free service. It's independent of government and independent of the service providers. That's really important, that the older person has someone on their side, and that they also, that we help them raise the issues with the service provider, because that frontline resolution is so important. We know that the workforce are out there trying to do a good job, are doing a good job, and 9 times out of 10, it's about communication. There's some communication breakdown, isn't it? Yeah,
it's true. Yeah. In that time, have a chat. Brilliant. Excellent. Thanks, guys. So just to let you know out there in webinar land, hello, we're streaming this to you, but we're also recording it for perpetuity and educational purposes. So if there's someone on staff today that didn't make it to the webinar site, then we can keep this. It's on the OPAN website. That's opan.com.au, and you will find these educational resources. But then I guess also very importantly is that we have Q&A with us today. So that allows you to have a voice, and we really, really need that actually. How can we prepare educational resources without you guys at the front line? So we really want to hear from you. So I guess first of all, I'm going to pitch this to you, Craig. who is OPAN? I mean, this is been around a bit, and this is a new name on the field. Is it a new name?
It is a new name, but it's not a new organisation for the members. As we sort of said, 25 to 30 years.
Yeah.
Under the Aged Care Act, it actually says that the government will or can provide funding for advocacy services. So it's been recognised since the Aged Care Act was first started. And there's some real great experience out there of people that have been working with older people, listening to their stories, helping them to raise their voice, as we were saying, but also helping work with providers to help them understand the importance of rights. Sounds sad talking about it, but I'm so passionate about the Charter of Rights because I think now in one page, it's got that really easy to digest, easy to understand, something that people can hold in their hands, something they can have in their drawer, to show what the expectations are. So for older people, there's often a power differential, power dynamic issue, and so this kind of puts a little bit of the balance in there. And it's not even, it can be nothing that a provider has done at all. It's about just that when someone's gone into aged care, that difference that it makes. So that's what OPAD's members are out there doing, trying to promote those rights and to help the older people. So you would have known their names in New South Wales, the Seniors Rights Service, Queensland ADAA, all sorts of the 9 members right across Australia have been doing this for great work for a very long time.
Good. We need them. We need you. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. So as we're all aware, from the 1st of July 2019, the Australian Government is introducing the new and simpler Charter of Aged Care Rights. So this is going to replace the other 4, isn't it? It's all going to roll into this one. So I guess to you both, what is the new Charter of Aged Care Rights? And I guess overall, why is OPAN involved?
I'll start off. So OPAN does see that rights are important. We're a rights-based organisation. Sometimes because of legislation, those sorts of things, we talk about consumers, but we're really talking about the older person and their family. The person who's lived in Australia, grown up here, contributed to Australia, and this gives them something to say, well, these are what I can expect from the aged care provider. This is the service I can expect. This is the level of standard I can expect. This is a great opportunity, I think, for a reset in the conversation, to actually start a dialogue with older people again. We know the Royal Commission is on, and that's been a big impact on the aged care workforce, but also older people that are receiving aged care, just that perception of it. And I think this really starts to help set an expectation of what services are going to be like.
What good care looks like.
What good care looks like.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've been working with the Charter for many years.
Yes, and I like the abbreviated version, and it's a great opportunity for providers to sit down with each resident in the family and really discuss their rights, and in that exchange they're going to find out facts and needs and wishes about the older person which they probably weren't aware of before. If someone's been in an aged care home for 15 years, maybe this document's been tucked away within the agreement and not aired very often, so even though aged care providers probably talk about it at residents' meetings, and hopefully we come to each aged care home and talk about this. But yes, it's a fresh look at the rights aimed at the older person, and keeping in mind the new standards as well. It's all about the individual and their wishes and choices and diversity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll find a kaleidoscope of uniqueness that we never knew existed in our residential homes. So it's quite exciting, I think. So the consumer is obviously at the centre of care, giving them choice and recognising their right for dignity and respect. But as an advocate, how does the Charter support your consumers with integral rights? But I guess also your advocates are looking to be very, very busy, I would assume. Is this a good time to become an advocate?
I think it is a great time to be an advocate. And we're actually receiving more requests for education sessions across the state. And advocates usually receive great cooperation from most aged care providers most of the time. So it's very rare that we're not that we're blocked for giving this service. And of course, as advocates, we understand there are two sides to every issue. So if little things do come up, and usually all the calls we get are reflected somewhere. We can find them somewhere embedded in the charter, all the standards or both.
Mhm.
So, and then we can really relate them back. Each issue can relate back to this charter and then address them more easily because everyone now will have new insights, what they mean for each individual, and each individual person will all be documented. So it's a great opportunity for us to go in and work with the providers to assist the older people and their families to sort out all the little niggly things that will happen from time to time in aged care.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. There's a lot of changes lately too. So
Yeah.
if we can be of any assistance, it's a great opportunity for us to do more.
Excellent.
I like someone the other day was saying, I think it was when we were doing the AXA and Laser webinars, and thank you to AXA and Laser for your support of this. And one of the things that one of the it sort of started to talk people about to older people, and they said, but why do we need a Charter of Rights?
Yes.
Haven't we already got? Haven't we always had these rights? And I suppose we have. They've been there.
Yeah.
But they've been in 4 different documents, depending on which type of aged care you've got. From 1 July, this brings it all into this one document.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a bit more about the responsibilities as we go on. But I suppose rights have never been put so front and centre. And for me, it was important that happened, and important that OPAN, who our service is doing this advocacy, could be part of this, because and until you lose one of your rights, you probably don't understand how important it is.
Yeah.
And once they're infringed,
Yeah.
then they become important. And I think that this charter, being so front and centre, it makes it so real.
Yeah.
You've got something to protect you, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like your little placard.
Yeah.
All right. You get a bit excited.
Yeah.
So we also have, and for the workforce out there, you're very aware, the new aged care quality standards, and you've both tipped on part of that. And they'll also commence on the July the 1st. So I guess for you both, how do they align with the Charter clearly, and how do they impact and reflect, I guess, on the provision of care? These are people here that are going to be providing that care.
Yeah. I mean, they go so hand in glove in some ways, and I think it's purposeful that they both start on the 1st of July 2019. You can't sort of have the standards without having the new rights or them aligning together. So when we talk about clinical care and clinical governance, which is a new explicit thing that's in the new standards, here it's kind of right one about I have the right to safe and high quality care and services. So that's how they sort of go together. And the person-centeredness, of course, that's what aged care workforce has been doing for ages, putting the person at the centre. This is now making that really explicit. You heard much, Pat, about the standards out there?
And I think they do go hand in hand, as you said, and they support each other, and useful tools side by side. Especially having this one, the Charter Rights, as a separate document, and embedded in other things, but also as a separate document, I think gives it a lot more power.
You don't get lost anymore, do they?
Doesn't get lost, especially with the signatures, having the provider sign it, even if the resident or care recipient chooses not to, for whatever reason. It's a responsibility. They're taking responsibility for owning these rights, and that's a great reflection, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, I just wanted to remind everyone, please, up in the right-hand top corner, I didn't specify this earlier, there is a chat box. I would really, 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 really love some input from you. And it helps greatly to provide appropriate resources for education and to have this conversation. So I guess being out there, I'm hearing, that there's many different ways of bringing this to the fore, to the floor even. So have either of you heard about anything that's happening out there to help bring in or implement the new charter?
Well, as I say, we're getting many more requests for education sessions at residents' meetings, so that opens up the broad conversation about when these new charter and standards are being introduced. And a lot of providers are already doing it. They're engaging really well with their residents and their care recipients, and starting conversations about it. When they get into it, it's quite easy. It's not really different to what they're doing now. They're a lot of them providing great care, and services. So this is just putting more focus on the older person and the care recipient.
Yeah. I've also heard there's newsletters. They're having little resident meetings where they're having education, and they're staggering it as well, which I think is a really good idea. You don't have to have it all in one sitting and that's it. Sign your life away. Well, no, you're not signing your life away. I'll stop that. And then putting it in the drawer, and then that's done. And I think it's an ongoing, it's a living document. Yeah.
And that's why I think this is so important and so exciting, is because it's something that underpins everything that goes forward from here.
Yeah.
So it becomes almost the conversation starter or the water cooler starter.
Yeah.
I mean, the aged care workforce are the unsung heroes out there, and I think this is really important to give them power to have a conversation
Absolutely.
with the person they're looking after, and why not sit there? I think someone will say, "What's your favourite right?" And we'll come on to that for us, but having that conversation, what's your favourite right? What is it? What does it mean for you? And I mean, one of the things that we're doing with OPAN is to start to have some materials, booklets that the government's working on, but we're working on some videos and things.
Yeah.
There's many different ways you can take people through this conversation.
I'm actually working on, and we're going to look at a snippet from this shortly, a project that yourselves out there, everyone across any aged care facility or volunteer, Meals on Wheels, anything that's government supported, aged care health, you can do a video chatting about your favourite right. You do need to consent. You need to film that consent as well, that you're going to film somebody, that they're happy for that, and it'll come up on our OPAN website.
Bit of a vlog.
Yes.
Vlog, yes.
And at the end of all of this, I'm going to compile a wonderful, wonderful resource that has the voice of many aged care recipients across Australia. So please, please, please get involved. If you really want to do that, you can send that to me at inquiries at APON. Inquiries at opan.com.au. Okay, I get a bit excited. I told you that already, didn't I? So let's talk about those rights. There's 14 of them. And the Charter describes the rights of aged care consumers. It gives people receiving care, their families, carers, and the staff a shared understanding, and that's what I really love, this shared understanding of people receiving aged care. So Pat, you tell me, what is your favourite right?
Oh, it's difficult. I'd like to tick number 15, all of the above. And I'm sure a lot of people will too. I suppose I'd go for number 1, safe and high quality care and services.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not receiving the painkillers that I need regularly, then that will reflect the quality.
Yes.
If I'm not, taken to the toilet when I need to go, that's also for me care and services. So I think I can relate a lot of those things even to that top line for me.
Yeah. Perfect. What about yourself, Craig?
Well, as sort of the CEO of an advocacy organisation, you probably expect me to go for 11, which is to have the person of my choice. And I like that it's about choice.
Yep.
So it doesn't mean that it's only my son or daughter or my wife or husband or my partner of choice. It's whoever I choose to walk alongside me.
Yeah.
If I want someone else there, I can have them. And we actually talked quite a bit during the development of this charter about the need to have advocates explicitly outlined here. And so it's actually really exciting that we actually say, well, no, people have the right to have an aged care advocate. Someone like Pat, who can say, okay, here's some tips and tricks. You can do this yourself. You're good enough. You've got the confidence. But here's some little tips and tricks of how you can raise your issue yourself. I do really like it that it's explicit here that it will be done without any retribution, those sorts of things. And that's, again, about the power dynamic differential there. And it's not because people are necessarily saying, oh, you naughty person, or we're going to come back and get you. But a lot of people think that might happen to them. And that's one of the big reasons, and the international research shows that people don't want to raise their concerns because they're worried that something might happen, or the staff member will get in trouble, or something like that. This gives people confidence to do that.
Yeah, a conduit to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to discuss mine today. This is uncommon for the moderator to discuss it, but I'm number 7. So I want to have control over, the daily aspects of my life and make some decisions, even though there may be some personal risk. So, I'm definitely staying in bed till 10, reading The Age and having a dog.
And a glass of wine.
And a glass of wine. Oh, wine, maybe too. So, shall we play the video that OPAN has created? It's an explainer video, and it says in very simple terms, in a very lovely way, what the rights are, about the signing, and how you can get help, and it'll be in many different languages, etc. Has a great voiceover with Julie.
Crossan.
Yes. So we'll take it over to you. Enjoy.
From the 1st of July 2019, the Australian Government is introducing a new and simpler Charter of Aged Care Rights for those you provide services to, regardless of the type of aged care they receive. The people you provide services to still have the same legal rights as all Australians. The Charter of Aged Care Rights add to these and are designed to help put the focus on the consumer, giving them choice and making sure they are treated with respect. This video aims to help you understand their rights and what your obligations are as a provider of aged care services receiving funding from the Australian Government. Let's go through all 14 of the new rights of those you provide services for. They have the right to safe and high-quality care and services. They have the right to be treated with dignity and respect. They have the right to have their identity, culture, and diversity valued and supported. They have the right to live without abuse and neglect. They have the right to be informed about their care and services in a way they understand. And they have the right to have access to information about themselves, including information about their rights, care and services. They have the right to have control over and make choices about their care, personal and social life, including where choices involve personal risk. They have the right to have control over and to make decisions about the personal aspects of their daily life, financial affairs, and possessions. They have the right to their independence. They have the right to be listened to and understood. They have the right to have a person of their choice, including an aged care advocate, support them or speak on their behalf. They have the right to complain, free from reprisal, and to have their complaints dealt with fairly and promptly. They have the right to personal privacy and to have their personal information protected. And finally, they have the right to exercise their rights without it adversely affecting the way they are treated. As a provider of aged care services receiving Australian Government funding, you're required to help those receiving your services to understand their rights and within the timeframes allocated by the Australian Government. Consider the tools available to help you, like those provided in multiple formats and languages by advocates like OPAN, including a video like this one made for aged care consumers. Sharing the rights brings a great opportunity to open up a new dialogue with those you provide services for, including their family, friends and carers. This can help you better understand their needs. The new Charter works together with the new aged care quality standards, also starting 1 July 2019 to support quality outcomes for consumers. While people receiving aged care have these rights, they may need to be reminded that others have rights too, including you. Everyone should feel safe and respected. They may also need to consider any existing care agreements previously made with you. When you give your consumer a copy of the rights, you must have signed it. This shows that you understand their rights. If they're comfortable doing so, we encourage aged care consumers to sign their rights. By doing so, they're showing you that they understand and recognise their rights. Consumers don't have to sign, however, and should receive the same care and services regardless of them signing or not. If your aged care consumer is not comfortable signing, or they have concerns about their rights not being upheld, they will be encouraged to talk to you, their friends, family or carer, or for independent help to contact OPAN, the Older Persons Advocacy Network, on 1800 700 600 or by visiting opan.com.au. If you have any concerns about the rights of those you provide services for not being upheld, please discuss this with your manager. Or if you can't resolve the issue, you may anonymously raise a complaint to the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission by calling 1800 951 822 or by visiting their website at agedcarequality.gov.au. Remember, if you would like more information or tools to help you share the rights with those who receive care, visit opan.com.au. The Charter of Aged Care Rights, proudly shared by OPAN, the Older Persons Advocacy Network, and quality aged care providers across Australia.
One of the things that concerns from aged care providers was, is this enough information if you just have the charter to understand everything? And so this booklet actually takes people through some case studies and some examples. It's going to be translated into different languages as well. So the charter is going to be translated to 18 languages.
18.
18.
That's
I
great.
think they're up on the
Fantastic.
government's website already.
Yep.
Health.gov.au. They are also, so that booklet is actually going to be available to be ordered. Now, my understanding it's free of charge. It'll be downloadable before the 1st of July, and the printing, fingers crossed, will be shortly after that, and providers will be able to order numbers of copies. So you'll have a copy of the charter, you'll have the booklet, but you've also got our video there. So that video is for providers and frontline aged care staff to understand the Charter, but we've also done a very similar video for older people and their families. So I could imagine that you could go to someone's house, say you're a home care provider, and you sit down with them and say, look, here's a booklet, here's the Charter, we're going to come through and talk about this a bit later on.
Yep.
And here's my phone or my iPad, have a watch of the video, and I'll go and make a cup of tea, and we can sit down and talk about this afterwards. So there's the sorts of resources. There'll be posters and the usual sorts of things as well, but that video and the booklet I think is really important.
Okay.
You were saying, Pat, about the booklet, the importance of it.
Yes, it'll do me out of a job. It's very comprehensive. It's illustrated as well. It's set out very clear. So yeah, lots of resources to support everyone. And the Quality and Safety Commission website, they'll have resources as well. My Aged Care will have resources. So there's lots of support for workers out there.
I think though it's important that the provider and frontline aged care staff actually realise that there is a duty to actually take people through it and explain it to them. So while those things are there to help you do that, it's the conversation that's the important part. Do you understand it? Have I done this in a way, like the video talks about, have you been explained it to a way in which resonates with you?
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for that, Jackie. Apparently there was a bit of a sound glitch whilst I asked the question. So that was a really good question in regards to some resources available for regional access services and home care packages and where you could order some. So thanks, guys. I've also got one from here about posting. It's actually from Alice Springs, this one. This is from Scott and Alice. Can you just put the the signed charter in the post, or do I have to explain it in person? It's a bit hard out there, we're all remote. We hear you.
What do you think, Pat? Any ideas?
Well, maybe the regional people can give us some tips, but I'm sure they're using some technology, Skype or things like that. There'll be some creative ways that industry staff can get around that, I'm sure. As we mentioned, the timelines are quite long, so you don't have to do it all the first week of July. So you visit or renew in the care plan, each review, there's opportunity for face-to-face.
Yeah, and I suppose you might do this in a number of stages. So you might post it out and say, here's something for you to read, and it'll have to be in a language or a way that someone can read, or people that have difficulty with language, you've got to remember that. But that could be the first step. You can talk to them over the phone. You can do a Skype video. You can send them a link to the video if they're on the net. There's the barriers of distance and the frequency that people see someone. That's got to be taken into account. But be innovative, be clever, have a morning tea, take people out to have a rights lunch, whatever you do. But so I suppose the importance is that it's been explained to someone and the person says, I understand this. You've done it in a way that made it really easy to understand. I've got it.
Yeah, beautiful. Excellent. So there's one here from Teresa. Thank you, Teresa. Is the video officially published? It is published under the OPAN website and available for perpetuity and educational purposes. And if you want to share this, share the hell out of it, I say.
And our explainer videos themselves, they are going to be up. We're just doing those final little tweaks on the actual voiceovers and those sorts of things. There's translations of those coming as well. So they'll be available for people to download, to stick it on your iPad, stick it on your phone, take it to wherever the older person is and let them watch away. They should be available next week, I think.
And the explainer video, that'll be available to share for everybody as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. We'll be sending the links around. AXA, Laser, Guild, all those sorts of people will be pushing this out as well, which is great.
Yeah, excellent. Good. And one last one from Dorothy here. Who's allowed to sign on behalf of the provider?
Oh,
Dorothy.
Yeah.
Well, it's I'm looking at the charter right here. It's got the signature of the consumer and their full name, and then full name of authorised person if applicable. So that person could be someone that the older person chooses, or it could be their legal guardian, enduring guardian, or an enduring power of attorney. So if they've got no one, we could leave that blank. And that's another, just document that, write it down, as long as the provider has signed their bit and dated it, the staff member.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anything in the legislation that says it has to be a manager or has to be the bigwig who does this. And it might actually be better if it's someone who has that regular contact with the resident or the receiver of their home care, because then they know that it's been explained and this person understands it. They've got that relationship there. And this is about, again, being person-centred. But a great way to empower staff to say, hey, I understand this charter and I can explain it to the people I look after and I support. So nothing in the legislation says who it has to be, just says the provider has to have signed it to say, I understand that you've got rights. I'm handing these over to you now because I recognise you've got them, and I'm gonna help you uphold these.
Yeah, excellent. So I guess across all types of aged care facility and provision, you might only, like Meals and Wheels, you might just come in every so often, but you have a really good rapport and relationship and time together, so they would be able to do, wouldn't they? Anyway,
That's who are not.
absolutely.
Management can help staff make that decision and have those conversations.
Yeah, it'd be up to those organisations themselves to, I suppose, brainstorm about the ways that they could do this.
Yeah,
Another conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good segue, because my next question here is the significance of signing. Is it essential?
It is essential for the providers to sign it, and that's what the Minister Wyatt asked for. And I think the spirit of this is that it's saying we understand, and we are part of this is respecting that older people, just because they've gone into aged care, doesn't mean they're not Australian citizens and they don't have the same rights as every other Australian citizen. And in relation to aged care, we recognise these as the 14 rights. And so it's the provider saying, yep, we've got this, we're going to protect you, we're going to help you stand up for your rights. It's up to the individual older person whether they want to sign it. They have to be given an option to sign it, though. Clear understanding, clear explanation, and time. Well, I recently met up with a provider out at Barranduda. So hello to Westmont. Thank you so much for your great visit the other day. Where's Barranduda?
So Aubrey Wodonga, it's in Wodonga. Yes. It's on the Wodonga side. It's an amazing facility and beautiful gardens. And Anne McKinney is their Director of Services there. Very helpful. I literally rang her with 24-hour warning and brought Alyssa film crew with me, and we had a great time. And we've actually filmed a little bit of the time that we had there discussing rights. And it's along the same vein that we really want you to film and send us to you discussing the Charter of Aged Care Rights with the residents. I say residents because we had a great chat about that as well. But anyway, I'll let you watch the video, and some feedback would be great. We had fun.
All information about myself, including information about my rights, care and services. I have the right to control over and make choices about my care and personal and social life, including where the choices involve personal risk. I have the right to control over and make decisions about the personal aspects of my daily life, financial affairs and possessions. I have the right to my independence, like that. I have to be listened to and understood. I have the right to have a person of my choice, including an aged care advocate, support me or speak on my behalf. I have the right to complain free from reprisal and have my complaints dealt with fairly and promptly. I have the right to personal privacy and to have my personal information protected. I have the right to exercise my rights without adversely affecting the way I am treated.
The provider has to, by law, sign for it. They have to tell you about your rights or provide information about your rights in a manner that you can understand. And as you're aware, across residential aged care, there are many different levels of capacity and ability. And so therefore we have to meet everybody's needs, not just one cohort of people. It needs to be done to everybody, or for everybody, I should say. So what would be your right that you feel that you really need while you're here?
I'd like to get out of here.
What was that?
I'd like
That's
to get
right.
out of here.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's underlying it as well, isn't it? Like, we can be rosy and I can say, you've got rights and you've got a voice, but the reality is I leave here at the end of this session. Yeah.
And with Brian, I suppose the brain's still quite okay,
Yes.
but the body's worn out.
Yes.
And he's been a farmer and a very good sportsman.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, he's in a room being lifted and, relying on the nurses to come when they need to go to the toilet, and if they can't come, and then he feels guilty because, they're all good to him. Yes, there's certainly are, but I just say it's just, and degrading for you, isn't it? When I say it's degrading for you, when you get to this stage when you've been so independent.
Everything.
Yes.
That's right.
And you appreciate that, but it's just, yes, it's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
For residents' rights, but we have to cooperate with staff and carers
Yes.
for the full final output
Yes.
and input.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that are looking after us, you must realise that they've got rights too.
Yeah, so there's also choices as well about who you would like to care for you. So if you would prefer male or female staff.
Or if you want to eat a particular type of food and you've been
Yeah.
told that you should be eating
That's right.
another
So,
type of food.
yeah, so if a speech pathologist has recommended you eat a puree or some type of consistency, but you choose not to, and I'm pretty sure Brian knows about that. That was Brian's choice to say no. He's aware of the risks associated with it, but that's his choice. So that will go down on this form.
Brian can't write anymore because he has MS.
Yes.
And his problems are, he can't fill in forms, can't do things like this, and it does make it hard.
Oh.
And as Laura's saying, he's had problems with the speech therapist. She wanted him to go on these thickened diets and that, which he can't stand. And I mean, I've been looking after him for the last 20, 30 years, and he's never choked yet on me, and I know what he can eat and all that.
Right.
But they were, saying no, he should be.
Yes.
But see, he just dug his heels in, he hates
good
it,
on you.
and he wouldn't
Yeah,
eat. So he's lost over a stone in weight, but
that's
now
young.
he's back to
Good.
eating the ordinary foods. And yes.
Okay. Isn't that a fun video?
Yeah. How'd you find that? That looked like a lovely morning with the...
Yeah. It was a great time, and it was I was so rushed because it was only 24 hours and coming into it. So we were a bit slow to start, but it was so much fun. I got to spend time with each of them and talk about how we're filming it, what we're using it for, and they were so interested in it. And then they were sharing such insight and such lovely stories and personable, coming from the heart, which is what I find is what it's all about. And then to have, I think her name was Mixie Little Dog there as well. It was just perfect. It was really lovely. And again, a really, really big, warm thank you out there to Anne McInnes and her team, and to the wonderful, wonderful residents. And Brian, you were such a cack. It was funny. Thank you very, very much. So again, if you're out there and you would like to video any of any older people receiving care, please do. Make sure that you film their consent and send it to inquiries@opan.com.au. So I guess next we're going to be talking about agreements. Now I know that there are many probably new signing of their agreements, aged care agreements, that come in line with the new standards and the rights. I guess, Mark, do you want to have a... I've done it again. Hat. Do you want to... It's real, I'm live.
Yeah, so we've received a few questions already from consumers about signing or entering new agreements. And depends how they're written and how they're set out, whether it has to be amended. And we recommend providers go to your peak bodies and they'll have some directions. They would have thought about that already, how to get around that with your standard agreements. And then, of course, reinforcing why the resident has to sign the agreement or the care recipient. Just make it clear that you're not adding anything. It's just to include this charter to make sure it's all up to date. So just probably take a little bit of effort for that. Some of the people that we're assisting are a few cognitive deficits, so they'll forget, they'll be a little bit confused. So we do acknowledge that will happen. So if you like, you can refer those folks to talk to us, and we just reassure them that that's the right process. Talk to your care provider, and they'll explain things to you. And it's just part of the changes. And again, a lot of people may not have. It could be 15, 20 years or 12 years since people have signed this agreement. So,
so I can understand why someone might be a little bit concerned if suddenly you say, here, your rights have changed. Well, your rights haven't changed. Your rights were there before. Yes, the piece of paper that it was on, which might have been sitting in there, and I know my grandmother was in a residential facility for 15 years, so that agreement 15 years ago to now. But the important thing is that it's not just a change of a bit of a schedule to an agreement. It's talking this through with someone to say, that might be one place we've saved it and it's filed there, but you also get to keep a copy yourself. That's the important bit.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, great. Now I have a question here also from Matt. Thank you, Matt. Must we use the government template, or can you incorporate the charter into existing rights and responsibilities documents? So, need some clarification there.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Good question.
Yeah.
The rights are the rights, so they are 14 rights, and we can't add or subtract from those. They are in legislation. These sit as part of the user rights principles as part of the Aged Care Act. So it's really important to recognise that we're going to talk a bit more about responsibilities and mutual responsibilities in a second. What some providers have been talking to us about, or talking to their peaks about as well, is maybe a code of conduct. So if people are particularly worried that to say, look, when you're living with us or residing with us, or we're coming into your home and working with you, these are sorts of things that we hear our expectations as well. But adding other rights on there, I think that's not the right way to go, and it's not in the spirit of this. This is about putting the older person at the centre of their care.
Absolutely. Yeah, excellent. Now the questions are coming in thick and fast. Thank you very much. I'm like, whoa. Okay. So there was one here about transport, anonymous person. What would a care plan look like for a CHSP, community transport provider? I guess the care plan wouldn't change necessarily. It'd have to come in underneath the standard, the quality standards. But the overall aged care charter of rights is still the same, isn't it? There's no change whether you're a community transport or whether you're high care, residential aged care. Is that correct?
That's right. So if you receive one or two services, I suppose you'd have to make sure that somewhere along the line the holder of the package or the CHSP sits down with the consumer and discusses this in detail. And again, just ask them to sign it.
There has been some discussion around if you get 4 services and there's 4 people providing, who takes on that. I think that's about a bit of negotiation. Does the person get it 4 times? Well, if they get it 4 times, they get it 4 times, which is great. I really understand their rights.
Yeah.
But it's important. I think there's the opportunity there to say, look, we'll do it on behalf, and though each of the providers, yes, is, I suppose that as long as that's documented that this person did it on behalf of, or that the CHSP each said, no, we've each said that we've got a responsibility for what we're doing, and so we'd like to make sure that we've covered ourselves off. That's fine as well. But it is the single charter. I suppose that's what's really nice about this, is as you move through the system, your rights are the same, and that's now recognised.
Yeah. So Jody asks again about help videos available in different languages.
I'll go back to the webinar explainer videos. They'll be out next week. So they will have different languages. They won't be available in different languages next week, but they will be before 1 July. So don't worry, we're working on those at the moment. We're working with partners in culturally appropriate care to look at the not only just getting a translation done, but getting it that the words resonate as well, because we actually recognise that what we think sounds the same may have different nuances in different languages. And that's why we wanted to partner with PICAC to make sure that the nuances are picked up on this as well.
Excellent. Well, that's a really good segue into this next question. Simon, to what extent do providers have to account for diversity? Will there be training available on what to do? Well, we had Sam Edmonds here the other day, chair of diversity subgroup, and she was amazing, and she really sort of sat down and explained it. And that webinar is also available, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that would be a good source of training in regards to diversity groups. But I guess one of the rights is diversity, isn't it?
Yes.
Which right is that?
Right 3.
Right 3. Yeah.
Have my dignity, culture, and diversity valued and supported. And aged care sector's been on an amazing journey on this.
Yes.
And really stepped up, I think, in a lot of ways. And the diversity subgroup and under that, and the aged care sector committee has really now developed up a number of, I suppose, localised plans, action plans that providers can use and the workforce can use to think about what diversity means. I mean, just because you come to aged care doesn't mean you leave
you at the door.
You at the door.
Yeah. And again, I think for the workforce, and still being a workforce member, it is so important to, I guess, to learn from, someone that has a diverse background, whether that be identity, culture, LGBTI. I mean, I think the relationship and the understanding can really develop if you just take the time.
And of course, there's diversity within diversity.
Yes.
You have to paint whole groups with the same brush. Each individual.
true.
So if you treat each individual to what they want and what their needs are, what they wish for, you're on the right track.
Yeah. Yes.
We're all unique, aren't we? We're all unique.
Beautifully unique. Yeah.
And of course, if you have any questions, you can ring the advocacy service in your state and just say, what are other people doing, or what do you suggest? How to address the diversity needs of this particular client, and of course, network with your other services in your area or in your state.
Because there are peak bodies, aren't they, for majority of diversity groups, so they would have a great wealth of information and education.
And you can always partner with your local community organisations, those sorts of things, that different cultural groups usually are more than happy to help support people to have a great understanding. That cultural safety is so important. And look, I'll give this a plug, the 1-800 700 600, that gets you through to your state and territory level service provider in relation to aged care advocacy. Also on the OPAN website, there's some training there called Talk to Us First,
Okay.
which talks you through the benefits of bringing in someone like Pat and the difference that can make in someone's life, but also making a difference for the aged care workforce.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they go, I'm just not quite sure what to do here.
Yeah.
And that sort of video and bringing in an aged care advocate can really help.
So it'll help the individual who raises any concern, plus the whole facility and organisation.
Yeah.
So everyone benefits.
Beautiful. Win-win.
Win-win.
All right, so let's talk timeline for implementing the new charter, Craig. Can you tell us those dates and I guess why how they're significant? How they're actually different. What are the dates?
Yeah. So from 1 July, this takes effect. The charter is in effect from 1 July. That means any new recipients of aged care, new people coming into your facility, starting up with home care package, starting up CHSP, the charter applies to them. So it's important that as you take them through all your sort of induction packs, those sorts of things, that you take them through the charter and use that as an opportunity to discuss their expectations of you and your expectations of them.
Yeah.
We've got mutual rights and responsibilities, haven't we? We've got mutuality to this. For people in residential aged care, for current recipients of residential care or residents, there's the opportunity to do this up until the 30th of September. But you can start that journey early on.
Yeah.
Start it early. For home care and for other forms of care in the community, it's the 31st of December is the end date. But again, that's 6 months.
Now.
Start it now. The charter the rights come into effect from 1 July.
Absolutely. Excellent. And you mentioned consumer responsibility there, and I think Lila mentioned it very clearly as well on the Westmont video. Thank you, Lila, about, I guess, acknowledging that the staff also have rights, and that everyone in the department and the facility has rights, and that we need to be aware and behave in an appropriate manner. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yes, well, the baseline is respect, isn't it? It's respect the older person in their aged care facilities, it's their home. An older person at home receiving care services, that's their home, they deserve respect. And the staff as well as their workplace, they have rights to safe working conditions and just general respect. Otherwise, that's where you do get complications and misunderstandings. So just start with respect. It's a good place to start.
Yeah, we're all members of a community, aren't we? Whether it's a residential aged care community or a broader community, and I've got to respect your rights as you respect mine.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Got a bit of Q&A happening here. So Jackie, I'm really liking you. How can RAS best support consumers without capacity? Consumers without capacity to advocate for themselves. Is there an expectation with certain breaches of rights also? Nice question.
Pat, what do you do with someone with dementia or a decrease in brain injury capacity issues? How does it work now?
Well, everyone has the same rights. They have a right to advocacy services. So even if they have a little bit of diminished capacity, they can still be assisted to call us. We'll listen to them and tease out their rights, responsibilities, and some options for them. So it's very empowering for an older person, especially if they're a bit confused. And then we can put something in writing as well, and that will reinforce what information or advice we've given. We could meet them face to face, hopefully. We do a lot more face to face in New South Wales with our regional workers, and that gives added support to the older person and their families if there's any confusion or forgetfulness.
I've been learning a lot lately from our ACT colleagues at Advocacy, as one of our members. And they've been doing a lot of work around supported decision making. So you often hear about substitute decision making, where someone else takes over and does the decision as the authorised representative. Supported decision making, though, is so important, because it's about recognising that while I might not be able to make a decision about everything to do with my life, there's still things I can make choices and decisions about. And so you need to respect me that might change. throughout the day, it might change from one day to the next.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be that I shouldn't be brought in and allowed to make those choices and decisions. And so working out where that sits, and also that explaining that, having the respect to explain that to me, even though I might have some cognitive issues, it's really important.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it's so important, isn't it? That inclusion in all decisions.
Yep.
It's a must. All right. Okay, I'll just find one more. Daniela. Safe care is not generic. How will mainstream providers ensure culturally safe services for Aboriginal elders?
I think this is something that we are all learning more and more about, and the importance of a culturally safe environment, and that's acknowledged that that's really hard for mainstream providers to do. The ways I've seen it done in other sectors in health is very much of that partnership model, partnering with your local Aboriginal community controlled organisation, partnering with elders in the community, having respect for culture, but there's a need for much more investment in mainstream and our services as well as OPAN in getting better responses for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and their elders, but across a whole lot of diverse and special needs groups. So we're looking at that and working on that. And there's also a need for specialised services as well. So that's important. Something our Northern Territory colleagues talk to us about all the time.
Yeah.
How important it is for people to feel safe, to be able to get back to country.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. Bit of work there to be done.
A lot of work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Daniela. That was a very good question. So today we're going to be looking at some resources. So our OPAN is creating a package and putting it onto their website. It's freely available for anyone to start the conversation. And as you mentioned before, the Department of Health is making a booklet. Do you want to talk just a little bit more about that booklet quickly?
Yeah, just to reinforce that the booklet will be there to be downloadable in the next couple of weeks. It will then be available for print. Now there's apparently a clearinghouse where you can order government materials from. We'll be putting up the link to that on our website.
Right.
And as soon as we've got a confirmation of the dates of when that printed version will be available and the translated version, we'll let people know. The other resources,
these webinars,
the explainer video, these webinars,
the wonderful,
Yep. So explainer videos out next week.
Yep.
These webinars, get other staff to see it.
Absolutely.
We're also developing up a bit of an education Prezi PowerPoint.
Yeah,
Not really PowerPoint. We're getting into the modern times now. We're using this wonderful stuff called Prezi to help make it easier to understand and take people through this. So take people through some of the concepts, those sorts of things.
Yeah, and it's really transparent. So it's there for providers, it's there for consumers, it's there for workforce. There's no us and them. It's all a collaborative effort to, bring in the Charter of Aged Care Rights, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, and we've got some more webinars coming up.
Yes.
Which is really important to talk about.
Nice segue. We should do a morning show.
Oh!
All right, so we've got some more interactive webinars specifically for the workforce, and they're coming up tomorrow, the 28th of May. It's 11:30 to 1, so get onto Eventbrite, text some of your fellow colleagues in the workplace and get them to join in and get them to have some great questions and ready to go, and also some feedback. If you like that video that we played and you're interested, please record your favourite right with your residents, or the residents can ask you to film them talking about their favourite right, I should say. There is an interactive webinar which is consumer focused, and that is tomorrow as well at 9:30. Now, if you have any consumers within your residential aged care, we would really, really love to have their voice. You may need to assist them in getting on and or texting with a Q&A, but the more voices we have, the better, right? Yeah. Then we have some community events. So OPAN is going across Australia and each state and territory and having a 2.5 hour community event. So it's face to face, similar panel, similar discussions, similar framework with our Prezi. And I think the dates are coming up now on the slide
They
for
are.
you. They're there. Fantastic. I love your work, Tom. Tom's IT. He does a great job. So Melbourne, Ballarat, Albury, Canberra, Bankstown, Darwin, Brisbane, Adelaide, Gold Coast, Perth, and I've missed Hobart. Hobart's there as well. So I really want to see people at these events. We'll have time for one-on-one. There'll be resources by then that we can discuss. We'll have advocates in each state attending as well. So there'll be representatives from peak bodies and advocacy services.
Yep. Partnering with CODA as well in a number of locations as well. So it's great that we're doing this with a really lovely partnership approach because we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And I think the community events, focused on consumers and carers, older people and their families. Wouldn't it be great though if everyone bussed everyone in to come for like Melbourne Town Hall? What a great location!
Yeah.
Come and have a free cuppa.
Yeah.
Come and learn about your rights. Make it a day out for your residential facility and your residents. And great time to share what was going on around the Charter of Rights.
Absolutely, a really good event. So there's no more questions yet for Q&A today. I'd like to thank you both for your time and input. Thank you. It's a great conversation.
Great, thank you.
And I think you're back with us tomorrow, aren't you?
I am.
Great.
See you all tomorrow.
Same channel. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it and all the best. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.